The thing that is going to make your MSP sales team run itself isn't some management hack. And it's not about hiring some magical salesperson that can somehow operate without any guidance whatsoever. And as much as I would love to stand here and tell you that, because it would make my life and my job a hell of a lot easier, it's just not the reality, unfortunately. And building a self-running sales team in 2025 is really about having some fundamental systems in place that most MSP owners that I talk to, and it's a lot, frankly, just don't have. So what I'm going to do here in this video is I'm going to break down what are those fundamentals, what are the systems that you need to do that, and share the advice that I've learned in my 20 years of experience, so that by the end of this video, you have a really clear picture of how to build a sales team that truly can run itself. Let's dive in. What do I mean by a self-running sales team? I don't mean a team in which you don't do anything as a sales manager. And that's whether your title is sales manager or you're a business owner that just has a salesperson reporting to you. When we're talking about self-running, there are still things that you need to do, but they are just vastly different than what you're doing if you aren't running a self-running sales team. Now, let me break this down. When you are not leading a self-running sales team, there's a pretty good chance that you are bogged down in bullshit all day. Frankly, like you are fighting fires all day long. You're getting questions from reps that are like, oh, hey, boss, can I get commission on this one? Or, hey, can I get credit to this one? Hey, can I get this moved over to this? Or, hey, this is a special case. Like, could we do X, Y, Z? Like, whatever that is. Or you have things coming in the door. You're like, oh, hey, that was my lead. No, that was my lead. No, I actually did that one. And, and so you got people, fighting over leads. You've got the role of making sure people are doing their job. So if you're not leading a self-running sales team, chances are you are either figuratively or in some cases, literally standing over people's shoulders like, hey, you got to make more calls. We're only hitting X number of calls. We should be hitting Y. Like, why aren't we hitting there? And then you're having all of these conversations and then they're giving you all of these excuses and you're looking at it, you're saying, okay, why aren't we here? And why aren't we here? And then, you're dealing with performance issues. You're like, hey, we're not at this certain level. Well, should I put this person on a warning? Should I not put this person on a warning? Like, okay, how many warnings should they get? Like, should they still be here after a certain point? Like, is that goal actually achievable? And then you're having conversations with reps and they're telling you like, well, the leads suck. And you're like, okay, it's like, these are the things that you're dealing with when you're leading a team that can't run itself. You're dealing with what one of my friends calls gnats, right? Like you're getting to the end of the day, you're like, damn, like I'm just knocking all this shit. And you get to the end of the day and you're like, damn, I've got decision fatigue. I've had, 72 conversations. I've done X, Y, Z, but have I actually done anything to move the needle in terms of sales? And that effectively means when you're firefighting, you're purely in reactive mode. And that is not the highest value that a sales leader can bring to an MSP. The highest value that a good sales leader can bring to an MSP is building the right strategies to grow over a period of time. It's building the right systems to make sure that that happens. It's looking at the goals and making sure that you've got a good plan to achieve them. It's looking at the environment, right, that your team is operating in, or even just the one person. If you've got just one salesperson, like looking at that and saying, hey, are there some tools? Are there some tech? Are there some activities that we could do? Are there some, high quality trains that we could do? You're adding way more value when you are proactively pushing things forward in your business. That is the benefit of having a team that can actually run itself. You're not swatting gnats all day, right? Like you're not fighting fires all day. In fact, you're building fire prevention systems. Like you are focusing more time on how do I continue to build this high performance environment and grow sales. That at the end of the day is why we're here. It's why you're watching this video. How do we grow with less chaos? And so here's how you flip that around and start to build a team that's capable of running itself to put you in the position of proactively moving certain priorities and certain strategies in a good environment forward. It's based on systems, because when you have the right systems in place, whether those are lead distribution systems, whether those are comp systems, whether those are people hiring systems, whether those are training systems, whatever they are, when you've got the right systems in place, the systems make most of the decisions for you. If you've designed it the right way, then the lead distribution system is not only predictable, it's transparent. If you've designed it the right way, the comp system not only helps people earn more money, but it tells them very clearly what to do and very clearly what they are going to be incentivized for and certain things that are going to be incentivized more for, right? Like those decisions are being made with systems. And you can't build those systems if you are constantly fighting fires. And what's worse is when you're fighting those fires all day, and believe me, I've been there. Like, I've turned around sales teams. So I've walked into the environment and been like, oh shit, like we are going to have to systematize the hell out of this. And it's going to be some work. Like, I've walked into it. When you are fighting fires all day, you are draining your energy. You are massively distracted. You are not creating like any source of real value in the business. That is not what's going to make you money. It's not what's going to make your business more money. And whether they know it or not, it's not what's going to make good sales reps on your team more money. Years ago, I was turning around a sales team, and this particular sales team actually sold various types of things, right? So they had some new client acquisition stuff. They had some project-based stuff, and then they had some renewal-based stuff, right? So they were selling a variety of things. Every month was like this. I swear it was like a whack-a-mole situation, because every month we had the same discussions. It was so-and-so got the big lead, and I had more sales, but yeah, he had more sales, but he has the better territory, and he has the better territory, but they have more renewals, and so his sales are this type and this and da 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 da. Oh my God! Like it was predictable. Like you could put it on a calendar. Now, one choice is, well, I just get really good at making these decisions, and I just like kind of roll up my sleeves, and every month I just get ready for all of these things. And we're going to have this whack-a-mole conversation that frankly drains my energy and distracts me and moves me away from doing the things that actually add value and ruins the environment, right? Because when you're having all of these discussions over and over, like people are walking away, they're going to be disappointed, and they're going to be disappointed with you because they're perceiving it as you are constantly making these decisions so that you hold all the power. What we did was I basically absolved myself of the power to make the decisions by building a proper lead distribution system. And so we went into this and we said, okay, let's look at the different types of sales. New client acquisition, we've got the project-based stuff, we've got the renewal stuff, and the fourth one was actually lapsed people, right? So we had 4 different types of sales that we had to look at. Now, what's the difficulty of these sales? Well, new client acquisition is clearly going to be a hell of a lot harder than renewals. And so we kind of ranked them in terms of difficulty. And then we looked at it and said, all right, what's the value to the business? Because as a team, as an organization, we had certain goals. There was one overarching goal, and then that goal was made up of sub goals, right? Like we had to hit certain goals with new client acquisition, for example. Okay. So we broke it down. We said, all right, so there's some difficulty component, and there's the value that it brings to the actual goal, because in order to hit the goal, like if you did twice as much new client acquisition and fell short on the renewal piece based on all the plan and the strategy that we had in place, that was by far rewarded at a higher level than the reverse, right? If you double renewal and fall short on new client acquisition. And then we just built a weighting system. Okay. Like we built a weighting system within the lead distribution, and every time somebody made sales, it basically racked up a score, right? So every renewal sale, every dollar that came in under renewals counted for a certain amount of points. And every rejoin that came in and lapsed person came in at a certain amount of points. Every new client, a certain amount of points. And at the end of the month, the sales report came in, the numbers were tallied, and the score was the score. The score dictated the ranking of who was going to get the leads in each category the following month, right? So the numbers came in, said you ranked first in this category, you're going to get the best lead in that category, because we had kind of weighted it out and we scored it out. Now, it took like 2 or 3 months for us to really get that dialed in. But when we got that dialed in, I never had a conversation again about who got what leads and whether this person deserved this and this person deserved that and this person deserved that. What I did have was conversations about the system. I did have conversations that said, hey, I think we could make an improvement, because an observation that we had about the scoring is when this happens, this happens. And we would have rational, diplomatic, normal conversations about this instead of highly emotional, very, like really charged conversations because people feel like they're being wrong to this and that. And we just like slowly iterated this lead distribution system, and we perfected it. We perfected it down to a point where I never had a conversation. It was predictable. Like you could see who was going to get the leads based on the score. And it's just like in a basketball game or a football game or whatever, cricket, whatever. Like the score is the score. Now, if you want to change how the scoring system works, we can have that conversation. but the system is going to make these decisions for me. And that was a perfect example of something where I immediately got half of a day back. I immediately boosted morale in the team because I gave transparency and insight into the decision-making process, and it wasn't subjective anymore. And I immediately made more money because what we started doing was manipulating the lead system so that we could maximize our goals. We proactively made changes to the system to reduce the number of decisions that I had to make on an ongoing basis and got us closer to hitting our goal. That's building fire prevention systems instead of fighting fires all day. So this is just an example of how you can think about this. And more importantly, think, damn, you know what? If I'm fighting fires all day and I never have the time to stare out the window and think, how do I build a system that can do this? Then what you're effectively doing is you're just running on a treadmill. It's going to constantly leave you in this environment where you are babysitting. And again, I don't know about you, but like that wasn't the role that I wanted to do, right? Like I wanted to hit the goals and make more money, but I also didn't want to piss people off all day and be making subjective opinion-based decisions that I wasn't even 100% sure that I was right all the time. So this is how you use systems to do it. And you've got systems in the lead distribution. You've got lead scoring systems for, leads that are coming in the door. You've got your commission systems. Your compensation system is probably the highest leverage system that you can actually integrate into your company. And what that means is you want to take a step back and you want to actually be strategic about it. Right? Like it's one thing to just Google hey, what's the on-target earnings for, an MSP sales rep in such and such area, or for an SDR or BDR, and say, okay, there's your number and we're going to give you a flat rate or something like that. But if you want to really excel and blow sales up in a good way, then dial in the comp plan. Get really strategic with that, because it's your best friend when you're not around. We call it the invisible manager, right? Because your comp plan is going to guide that behavior that they're executing, the actions that they're taking, the things that they're focused on, how they're selling, what they're selling. It's going to do all of those things when you're not necessarily looking. So it's one of the fastest ways to stop having to micromanage things is you put the comp plan in place, you make it incredibly clear, you make it incredibly transparent, and by the way, make it incredibly simple to understand. It doesn't do you any good if the comp plan is so complex nobody understands it. Right? Because if they don't understand it, then they can't change the behaviors to act accordingly the way that you want them to. So it's not going to necessarily work. So if you get that dialed in though, you're basically communicating with your sales team or with your salesperson every single day without it requiring more of your time. And that's just another example of how systems work. They work to make decisions for you, to do the communications for you, because you've invested the time to build that thing the right way and invest time into perfecting it so that you individually aren't having to have all of those conversations and make all those decisions on your own. Now, there's one caveat to this, and it is system building, right? If you're going to design a comp plan, you're going to design a lead distribution system, you're going to design, anything that you've got from lead scoring, all that stuff, almost never a one and done thing. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they take the advice, they install the system, and they say, cool, we're done. And the best systems, particularly when it comes to sales, are things that you're going to iterate for a period of time to perfect, right? Like the lead distribution system that I told you, it took a couple rounds for us to go, didn't see that. Didn't see that. Let's adjust for these sales that were kind of outliers. Okay, let's dial those things in. So it took a couple of months to get it right. But then, like I said, it went on into perpetuity, making those decisions for me. So investing a little bit of time into the feedback loop, because a system is basically you've got inputs, processes, and outputs, okay? And then there's a feedback loop. And that feedback loop is what informs you on, do we need to make any changes to this? Do we need to make any changes to this, right? Are we getting the output that we want? Are we getting the reps to change the behavior that we want? Well, then it's possible we need to make some changes, right? We need to tweak a few things. And as your business grows, the systems are going to need to change anyway, right? Like the systems that you put in place to have one rep are going to be significantly different than the systems that you need with 10 reps. There's going to be more sophistication. There's going to be a little bit more complexity. There's going to be other factors that you have to consider. And as you grow, it's really imperative that you constantly take a step back and just make sure, is this fire prevention system working the way that I want still? And one of the best symptoms that it's not is the fires start to pop up, right? You're like, oh, hold on. This smells like smoke. I've been here before. So you go back and you make adjustments to the system, and that constant iteration, that constant optimization is what's going to get you to a fully self-sustained, self-running sales team. Now, there's one big difference between a team that runs itself and a team that doesn't. And it's the players that are on that team. You're not going to go hire people that don't need any management, right? Like I said at the beginning, this isn't about hiring a magical person that just has like no need for guidance whatsoever. What you are going to have to hire, though, is somebody that is relatively self-sufficient when the right systems are in place. And the general hiring process is something that you want to take into consideration with it anyway, because one person can come in and try to wreck your system. So if I'm hiring for somebody in a place that I've already started to optimize and I've already started to systematize, one thing that I'm going to look at is obviously, hey, do you have real solid, actual, quantifiable past performance, right? Like I hire A players. Like I want killers. I want people that are badass at their job. I don't want, just anybody. I don't want asses in chairs. So I'm looking at the past history. Can you prove that you've done really well, been a high performer, and actually prove it, right? Can you show me former sales reports? Can you direct me to a former manager? What can you do to demonstrate that you've done this? And by the way, if they can't sell themselves, then, probably not a good sign, because that's the most valuable product that they're going to have to sell their whole life. Then the next thing I look at is, hey, you're a top performer. It looks like you've got good numbers. How'd you do it? Like, what made you different? Like, what were the actions that you took that were different? Like, what was it in your pitch, or what was it in your process, or what was it in your strategy? What was it in your activity that led you to separate yourself from the pack, right? Like, how did you end up in the top 10% at your last sales team? And what that's going to do is it's going to give me insight into how they think. First of all, it's going to also give me insight into whether there's a real reason, right? Because sometimes people come from environments where the systems suck. Like they've got people that are like these favoritism-based things, and like, hey, I actually just got fed all the good leads. It's like, you actually, like, walk me through your performance. Like, what did you do, and help me understand your thought process and how you work. And one huge, massive red flag, and this actually came up recently with a company we were doing a sales audit for, and I went and talked to one of the sales reps. In terms of numbers, really high numbers. But in the conversation, we're talking. So, well, like, here's the thing, I love the E-Myth. The E-Myth is a great book, but the one part which is, about systematizing other parts of the business. But, the one thing I just completely disagree with is sales. Like sales, you can't do that with. There's not a process. It's really it's more of an art than it is a science. And he went on to tell me that, it's very subjective and the process changes every time. And he's going to, treat people differently for different things that he perceives to be, a cause for, throwing the process out periodically, blah, blah, blah. When I hear that, if I was hiring that person and they were sitting in front of me as an interview, I wouldn't hire them, because I know what I'm building. I'm building a systematized sales-based system. Why? Because I want to scale it, and because I want to make it repeatable. I want to make it predictable. I want to make it so that I can plug other people into it, right? Like I want to reduce the risk. So I want to, break it down into components. And more importantly, as I scale my business, or as you scale your business, then what I want to do is I want to minimize the chaos and all of the shit that comes with it. So if I'm interviewing somebody like that, I'm like, no, I'm picturing you at 3x the size of the company that we are today. Because it's usually like, I want to grow aggressively, and that doesn't work, right? So those are some of the red flags for me. And if I could leave you with just one thing, it would be this: measure twice, cut once on this. Like in terms of the whole sales team building and building the right systems, I managed a really high performance sales team for 10 years. And it wasn't when I took it over. It was broken. They had just done a sales reorg. I was basically the last manager standing. And they said, hey, do you want the job? And I was like, I guess. Like I was, young sales manager. It was a big step up. So I said, sure. But I had to completely overhaul that team, like completely overhaul. And it required letting go like almost half of the team. But we systematized the shit out of that. And we built what became the highest performing team of its kind in the business. And we hit goals 10 years in a row, right? Like we never missed a sales goal. And that was despite different environments. It was despite increasing goals. It was despite all of the changes that an organization's typically going to throw at you, try to say, hey, you hit a number, let's do this. You hit a number, let's do this. And I joke sometimes because my wife, dead serious, like when we were dating and we were friends prior, she said, I don't really know what he did for a living, but I don't know if it was, if he was like a trust fund baby or something, like, but his hours seemed to be pretty lax, and he seemed to have good money, and drove a good car, and good head on his shoulders, like. But I wasn't really sure about the work situation until we actually started seriously dating. This was just the tail end of me having systematized a sales team, right? Like, I had a lot of time, and I was able to then spend my time doing things like staring out a window to build better systems, right? To build better strategies, which didn't require me sitting in an office and micromanaging people and putting out fires all day. And for you, it doesn't need to take 10 years. It didn't take us 10 years, but it took some time to get all of these things dialed in, to get it from a mess that required a massive, sales reorganization and virtually everybody in sales management and executive sales management being asked to leave, to a place that highest performing in the organization, to a place where we could just calmly execute, methodically execute, and consistently hit our numbers, increasing our numbers year after year after year. So I hope that helps you, in terms of thinking, how am I going to build this team, especially if you're a business owner and you're managing a salesperson or two, and you're thinking, I don't have time to be a full-blown sales manager. This is the answer. So if you're interested in working with us to start building a sales team that does run itself and hits those goals and moves the business forward, then check out the links in the description below. Look forward to talking with you. We've also got the sales toolbox, which I offer for free, which is a bunch of sales management resources. By all means, check out all the other videos on the channel here. I hope they help you grow. Adios.